Welcome. Today, we're going to journey into the heart of a really powerful choice, one that, in the end, defines all of us. We're going to explore a series of dark parables about this fire that burns within, and the two paths we can take when we're faced with its heat. Do we build walls to hide from it, or do we build a forge to create with it? Our journey begins right now.
So our story starts with a prince, and this quote, it really captures his whole dilemma. He decided to be a merchant, you see, selling off the single most valuable thing he had, his own authenticity, all in exchange for comfort. He literally traded the chaotic, messy, vibrant truth of the world for a managed, sterile illusion. And so we enter the first chapter of our story, the prince's kingdom, this grand, beautiful monument to total denial. He built his world on these high ivory towers, surrounded it with a perfectly manicured garden where reason was king. It was all designed, every last bit of it, to shield his people from the unpredictable winds of existence. He threw these endless, noisy parties, not really for celebration, but to drown out the quiet, persistent hum of reality. But what started as a fortress to keep all the chaos out, well, it slowly became a prison of vanity, trapping everyone inside. But here's the thing, the abyss. The raw, unfiltered truth of the world, it can't be bargained with. You can't wall it off forever. And one day, a reckoning arrived. It was this primal, ancient power, an atavistic force clothed in the colors of cooling magma, known only as the High Judge. But the judge's weapon wasn't a sword or some grand army. No, it was the seventh solitude, a perfect mirror of polished obsidian. Its only power was to reflect things exactly as they were, stripping away all the comforting lies and the noble stories the kingdom had been telling itself for so long. And faced with that perfect, unflinching reflection, the kingdom just couldn't stand. The towers, you see, had become brittle from years and years of denying what was real, and they simply crumbled under the weight of the truth. It wasn't an attack that destroyed them. It was a single moment of absolute, terrifying clarity. But the prince's kingdom, it's not just some fantasy tale. It's a metaphor, really, for a fear that lives inside all of our societies. It's this silent fear that drives us to build our own fragile towers of collective denial. For instance, consider the parable of the city of Kronos, a city built entirely around a giant clock. Every single citizen is just a gear, moving in perfect, synchronized rhythm. In a place like this, to move out of step isn't just a mistake, it's seen as a moral failing. The city's true terror wasn't chaos. No, it was what the parable calls atavistic fluidity, that primal, untamed freedom of an individual. Just the sight of one person moving with wild instinct, dancing to their own rhythm, was terrifying because it proved you didn't need permission from the great clockwork to be alive. And that was a painful reminder of their own slavish obedience. You can see this exact same denial in the tale of the Ash Gardeners. They were a village living on the slopes of a dormant volcano, and to ignore their incredibly dangerous reality, they spent all their days painting the volcanic rocks gray and planting these delicate fake silk flowers. They existed in what you'd call a state of collective slumber. They were actively choosing the comfort of their shared illusion, their painted rocks and fake flowers, over the difficult, wicked honesty of just acknowledging the fire that was simmering right beneath their feet. Anyone who dared speak of the heat was branded a heretic. And this brings us right to the core of the issue, doesn't it? That heat, that instinctual freedom, that internal fire. It's the very thing society fears and tries so desperately to suppress within each and every one of us. So how does it do this? Well, by branding a biological necessity, the need for expression, with all these negative labels. This internal pressure gets called wickedness or impulsiveness or even madness. In the Clockwork Cathedral, they called it demonic friction. It's all just a way to pathologize a natural force, to turn an inner truth into a personal failing. The danger of all this suppression is told in the story of the silent choir. This was an underground kingdom where people believed sound was a sickness of the soul. So they communicated only in gestures, totally convinced their voices would attract monsters from the dark. But here's the tragic irony. This total suppression of their voices, it didn't save them. It led to a fatal stagnation. The monsters they were so afraid of were already among them, feeding on the silence of a people who had literally forgotten how to even scream for help. So this brings us all the way back to that fundamental choice. doesn't it? The one the prince faced when his towers fell, and the one we all have to face when we feel that internal heat rising up. When you're faced with the unvarnished truth of your own nature and the messy reality of the world, what do? Do you retreat back into the comfortable illusion, or do you turn and finally face it? We have two paths. You've got the merchant who, like our prince, trades integrity for reputation and builds walls against existence, always seeking that hollow safety. Or we can be the architect. The architect rejects all that external noise, cultivates their own earned truth, and embraces what the sources call a terrifying freedom. They find their dignity not by running from the fire, but by facing it head on. Okay, so if we choose the path of the architect, how is it done? I mean, how do we take this volatile inner energy and actually build something with it instead of just being destroyed by it? Our final parable gives us the answer. It's a story of two brothers at the edge of the abyss. They're each given a perpetually burning shard of the sun. And their choices, well, they reveal everything. The first brother, he's terrified of the heat, so he clenches his fist to hide it. The pressure just builds and builds until he erupts, becoming a wrecking ball of destruction. But the second brother, he follows these steps. First, he accepts the shard. Then, he endures its painful heat without reacting blindly. After that, he builds a creative forge, a hearth, a canvas, a craft, something. And he uses that internal pressure to create something new. He learns to turn pressure into power. And this is the ultimate lesson. The fire is coming. That's a guarantee. That internal energy is a non-negotiable part of being alive. The only choice you have is in how you respond. Will you be its victim, its wrecking ball, or will you be its architect, its master builder? Unlike the merchant who traded everything away, the architect understands that this inner fire is priceless. It's a sovereign force of nature. You can't bottle it, you can't sell it, and you definitely can't extinguish it. It can only be honored and channeled. So I'll leave you with this. Look at your own life, at your own internal heat. Are the structures you've built around yourself walls designed to hide you from that fire? Or are they the foundations of a forge, a place where you can meet that fire and build something true with dignity,